So welcome to McBoss Capital channel. So this is the week of ending October 6th. We have a second week of NASDAQ going up, so that's really a good sign. Is this the bottom? Yesterday IBD announced market follow through on the 7th day of the rally. So we have this bottom right here on, let me see here, where's the date here, September 27th. So that was the low. You can see it undercut this previous low here in August, and it bounced back up, and then it came back down, and it undercut it, and then we almost tested again right here on the 4th day of the attempt rally. And then yesterday was a very good day for many growth stocks, as well as even for the index. You can see how it was stuck in this range for many days. Like if you just draw this, you can see it's been stuck in this range for many days, and it finally broke out. So this is a huge sign of for this rally, that it may continue because of this breakout right here. And now it's above 10 and 21 day, and you can see the relative strength is much stronger on the NASDAQ, and this is compared to S&P 500. So those are all good signs for a lot of the growth stocks, and we're gonna look at a lot of those, and most of them are in the tech area. If we look at it from a weekly perspective, this year, we started off strong. Then we have this February, March, kind of like a pullback, and then here, and then it ran for like 19 weeks up, pretty much from like sometime late April to like pretty much the top here was like I think late July, and then August, September, it was basically like kind of start doing this, and then September was pretty bad, and now we're in October, and probably more importantly, it was the fact that it rallied on a very strong jump numbers. It was down in the day, in the morning, but it was holding and holding and holding early in the morning, and then after the first hour it started taking off. So if we go look at the 15-minute chart, yeah, so there you go. It was like the first hour was kind of like just trying to hold the previous day low, and it did, and then the buyers start coming in, and the primary reason for that, the headline numbers, let me just jump to the notes here, because I think might as well talk about this right now. So let me see here. Where is okay, I don't have the headline number, but it was 300 something thousand, right, on the job side, which is way more than yeah, right here, 336, and then it was way more than the 170, and this was what the market initial reaction was not good, because the Fed was a softer job number, but it came in stronger, a lot stronger. And the yields also jump a little bit, and we'll look at yields right away. But one of the things, again, I don't have that note here, was the wage growth was less than expected. So that's, I think it was like, yeah, I don't remember, it was 0.1 or 0.2%, but it came in lower than the expected. So, that inflationary indicator is important, and I think that helps the market as well, like in that sense. And so again, we have different scenarios. There are people arguing for soft landing, whether we have a mild recession, and then there's people who argue we will have a really bad recession next year. That storyline continues. And the people who argue for bad recession next year will probably be the bears, and then the bulls are mostly the ones who argue for mild recession next year, and those are the bulls, right? So regardless of that, I think seasonally right now, like October to December, the last quarter is generally the best quarter of the year, and also in the third year of presidential election that also is one of the strongest quarter in the whole election cycle. So we are seasonally like and cyclically like one of the best time to invest right now. And yes, there might be a recession next year, but that's probably down the road, right? The market won't react to it until probably early next year and figure out what's going to happen. And then by November, we will know whether the Fed want to raise interest rates or not. Right now, it's still under the 50% mark. Like I think the last time I saw was like either between 30 and 40%. Either in November or December, they're going to raise one more time. So that's most likely going to happen, but it may not, right? And if it doesn't, it probably because of some news they think that is, that's not good for consumer spending. They don't want to make that even worse. So it really depends. And then now we're going to start to have earnings news coming out very soon. Like we are October, probably like next week we're starting to see the banks, big banks by Friday. So all these are going to start to contribute to how stocks going to perform. But today is a good sign. Friday, is a good sign that market jump. But we have to be cautious because not all areas are up. But in most cases, like 80-90% of them are up. So that there's still a lot of weak areas. But yeah, overall, it's a healthy market. The other thing I want to show quickly here. Let's just look at S&P as well quickly. Daily chart. They all look very similar, but Nasdaq is probably the strongest one. So again, this thing is still in the range. So that's S&P. Go to Dow. Dow is quite weak as well. You can see it just reached a 10-day, and yeah, and then we have Russell, which is probably the weakest of all. Near the bottom of the range here, whether it can, there's a high chance it will bounce from here. This is a pretty steep correction for Russell. So, but I don't know, just based on the chart, I don't think it will lead. Most likely Nasdaq will be the one that's leading. Any questions on this? All right. So, yeah, we're gonna jump to one thing on the chart here. Let me just pull it, see if I can find it. Look at advanced decline line. That's what we're trying to look for. So this is the IBD newspaper every week, and they have I can find it. That right here. So the market trend page. So they have this advanced decline line at the bottom. This is a S&P. So you can see it's finally turning up. Like this was pretty steep drop for a while now, and pretty much for all the market. But you can see the trend is more clear here. Like if it had this bottom on Tuesday, Wednesday it bounced, and then Thursday it went down very slightly, and then Friday it jumped. And then on Nasdaq, this is Nasdaq, similar. But the only problem here, it didn't make a new high on the Friday here compared to last Monday or something. So that's a little bit I don't know. Yeah, like there's lots of selling this week, and so this is where, like, I think for most investors, like even the traders out there that are really good, I think this is the part that is very tough, is that the market is giving mixed signals, even on this bounce, right? Like it's just relatively is still weak in that sense, right? Because ideally we want to see like this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday should be have a newer high on the advanced decline line, meaning more stocks should be up than down, but it's not showing that, and that still shows the breadth, the market breadth is very weak, right? Very weak. So that's something that I still think, it definitely need a lot more work to get there. The other thing that happened very importantly on Wednesday, I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday, I can't remember. It was the day that it was down big. Yeah, Tuesday. We had a peak on right here. It's on this graph right here. This is the put versus call trading volume. It actually jumped to 1.31. This peak right here, and that usually, if you go back, the last time it hit that high was around this low right here, right? So you can see that that was probably the March low. So we had that same thing happen here. So there's a huge potential that this recent weakness has bottomed. So that's another very strong indicator, because when people are so bearish, they buy puts, and then when it jumps so high in terms of ratio against the calls, that usually signify, again, a lot of bearish sentiment, and market tend to react psychologically the opposite, and just because it forced them out, right? And then the market has started to go up even faster. So those are things that happened this week. Yeah. Any questions?
No.
All right. Let's look at the equal weight for a second. See if there's any changes here. Again, the equal weight will be more significant for the market breadth, and again, it's still very weak on the RSP. And then we'll look at Nasdaq equal weight. Yeah, you can see it's still a little bit weak. It's still under 21 day. Again, Nasdaq are much more heavily weighted towards the Magnificent Seven, and so those guys are. And we'll look at the charts in a second. They're definitely strong. Again, they probably will continue to lead the market, which means QQQ, or like the ETF here. You can see it's already getting very close to the 50-day. Like it's already bouncing, very fast, right? So I guess the pattern here for, looking for strength is, and there was many people asked this question this week. Like, even though we have follow through day here, but it's under the 50-day, what do you do, right? Like, do you want to be all in, or you want to be, and IBD recommend, like, I think 20 to 40% right now invested. Obviously it's still early. It's just one day. If we come back down the next day hard, then all of a sudden you're back in the trend again. Like, is this just a temporary bounce, right? So we gotta be very cautious. Very early in this uptrend. Again, it did hold this low one time already, so hopefully that is it. But you never know; it could come back and test it again. So very cautious there. Again, we need to see, but definitely Nasdaq is definitely leading the relative strength here. You can see that. And this is a really good sign, because, like, one of the things that when a new rally starts, you want to focus on stocks that are leading, that are having lots of strength, not just following the market, right? Like, I think that's probably one of our goals all the time, is to find stocks that outperform the market. But it's more even important right now, because it's easier to detect them. Like, especially early in the rally, because usually stocks that are leading before the rally even start are the ones that are gonna lead even more as the rally continues. So, and that's a trick that IBD use a lot, is this relative strength line. Basically, it compares the stock against the S&P 500. So we're looking for stocks that are, and we'll look at many examples today. How I measure, right, one stock versus another stock, and really there's probably three camps, right? One is their relative strength is going up, much faster, and then there's ones that are going up, but they're more like in line with S&P, like not, it's not like outperform or anything, right? Like, I mean, it could be better than S&P, but it's not in the top tier. And then there's the third one that definitely, like, they're not even going, outperforming S&P, right? Meaning they're just going down. So those are the three, tiers you want to kind of separate them. And sometimes, we think, we like this name, and it's always been a good name, but then you look at the RS, it's like, why is it not moving as you think it would? And again, that's where you can help. It can help you distinguish which one's better leader, at least for now. Like, I mean, things could always change because news come out and then all of a sudden they can move, or they're waiting for some news or something, or they're waiting for earnings, so things can change, but you don't want to wait, you don't want to invest based on hope or something, right? Yeah, so that's the other thing that I'm also doing personally is as the rally just started, if assuming this will continue, I will be a lot more concentrated, right? And normally I own a lot of stocks, but because I want to, and that's fine when there's not, when the market is kind of so and so, but when the rally is strong, you want to focus on the stocks that are really moving, right? And at the beginning, they move the fastest. So you want to, make sure you not only you catch it, but you also concentrate on them. And then as the market broadens out, then obviously, again, everyone has different strategy. It's up to you how you want to, balance your portfolio. But especially if there's a strong rally, you want to be concentrated because the risk is much lower, and most stocks will continue to fly. So we want to take also like the perspective. Last week we talked about this W-shaped pattern, and now you can see the Nasdaq. Like I'm using Nasdaq as a good example because this is the strongest index. So if your stock has a pattern that's better than this pattern, and this index is already the best index, then that also showcases that your stock is really outperforming, right? And you want to stick with leading stocks because they tend to go higher. So as much as you think it already go higher, it usually does even go even higher. And we'll look at some stocks that really showcase that. Like a lot of them are, not many are new names. Most of them are same names as the whole year that been leading. Yeah, so that's that. Yeah, so the other thing I think was very important was Friday. Even though it's very subtle, it was an upside reversal day. And those are the best days, I think. Again, you can't really see it from the chart. But again, we go back to 15-minute chart, it was like down, like really hard. Like not super hard, but enough that I think it was, I don't know if it was close to 1%. And that's why it was so intriguing to me that it was down almost nearly 1%, but then it was able to rally and close like 1.69%, right? So that swing is like almost 2.5 to 3%. So that is we haven't seen this kind of day in many days now. So that's also a change in tune. But again, one day doesn't mean anything. But this one day is very important in IBD's point of view, and it's because of this low here. It's the 7th day of rally attempt, and yeah. The other reason why I saw last week we were talking about whether we see a fall today, and like I said, we probably will see one this coming week, and it did happen on the last day of the week. And the reason why is, again, we'll look at some stocks. We're seeing a lot of growth stocks or having the same pattern, right? They already form a low, even some of them even before September 27. And why are all of a sudden this growth stocks bottoming earlier than the index, right? It's because people are starting to put money into those growth stocks. So those are things to watch for. And now we're gonna look at stocks in charts very soon. The one thing I noticed is a lot of those charts are already extended. Like it's crazy to even say that because the rally just started, okay? But one of the things that I always pay attention to is how far the stock is from the 10-day moving average, because that's the short-term moving average. So if it's already like much further away from the 10-day moving average, that's usually when it's extended. Doesn't mean it can go even crazier. It can. It's just that it's harder to pull the trigger on new buys, is what I'm saying, right? Because they're more riskier now. For like it might go up a few more percent here and there, but when they pull back, they could pull back a lot more because they usually pull back to the 10-day. So, all right, S&P, this black line here is a very long-term trend line. I think, yeah, it goes back like pretty far. This 41.95 peak here. It's a long-term trend line. Go back to the daily for a second. Right here. And not only that, it coincides exactly with the 200-day. So in a bull market, assuming we are in a bull market, it usually will find support in the 200-day. And so it did. You know, we were like, look at, like, this was another sign, right? Like Wednesday, it closed at the top. Thursday, it closed at the top. A very different behavior. Now, of course, it's still an inside day. And then this Friday, like, I'm pretty sure it make a new low on Friday, compared to previous day, 4225, 4219. Yeah, it did. So this is an outside day now, right? So outside day are usually pretty strong in technical indicator. It usually signifies changing direction. There's a high percentage of that probability. So yeah, it found support at previous resistance. It found support at 200-day. And it's also, yeah, actually one analyst was mentioning, it's also like a very strong Fibonacci retracement. I don't know how many percent is that. It's also a strong Fibonacci retracement level. So three things technically. And you know, this I can't remember. I had it on my notes. We'll look at that notes in a second. But yeah, she said like all three things are aligning for a bounce here, and so exactly it did. Yeah. Okay. So crude oil, we also talked about that a week ago. It really tumbled this week. Right. So let's go look at it. So because like I think one of the signs that we saw last week was that yeah, right here. We saw many stocks, oil stocks. So even though the crude oil price went higher here on the second top here, but a lot of stocks didn't. And we talking about the leading growth stocks. So there's a diversion, you know, and yeah, like this is one of the best. I've learned that this is one of the best bottoming or topping signal to look for is when you have a new high, but yet your growth stocks are not making new highs, right? Same thing. When the you know, whatever you try to measure against, like, you know, like let's say like stocks, for example, like if you're making a new low, like if the oil price was making a new low and then, you know, a lower low here, let's say, but your leading growth stocks are not making a newer low, right? There's a diversion there, and so that's usually a good sign, right? For at least for the stocks. So yeah, it works both ways, and I find that signal, like, you know, what's his name? Yeah, excuse me, Scott. Yeah, Scott. He's one of the IBD traders. He always loved using that type of measure, like signal. And you know, whenever he's talked about that a lot this time about S&P. He actually was one of the first people to short the market. I can't remember where it was happening exactly. Oh, right here. So S&P make a new high, right? But and then you go look at Nasdaq here, right here. This was his. He was one of the first few ones that talk about this. And then Nasdaq did not make a new high here. So again, Nasdaq tend to outperform S&P in a good market, and that was a divergence, and so and that's exactly when it topped a lot of growth stocks for tech anyway, and then it slowly lead to other areas. So yeah, so it's a very good indicator, I find. Yeah, like I said, it's yeah. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, so Tuesday was the really bad day. The job opening on the JOLTS report shot up significantly to 9.61 million. In August was just 8.75 million consensus. That day, Treasury yield jumped to 4.81%. So let's look at the yield now. So now there's a lot of talk now. Like, again, I don't know if it will happen, but because so many people talking about it, that it might jump to 5%, right?
Yeah.
So I think it hit 48.8 was the highest. But now there's so many people anticipating that it will move to 5%, which means, again, tech stocks could get hurt more if that happens. But again, even though, like, this is why I feel like, again, there's a divergence, right? Because the probably you can graph this again, Nasdaq. Let's see here, because you can see the divergence happening. So let me see right here. Here you go. So here you go, right here, right there. Sorry, I kind of draw it a little bit off. But what we saw is see the TNX going up, and we saw the Nasdaq going down. But now, this last few days, what happened? Nasdaq been going up, while the TNX are kind of, near the highs, right? So there's a little bit of divergence there. So you could say if this trend continues, it could be that maybe it doesn't matter anymore, right? Because maybe the investors are pricing in that we are near the peak. Like, this is it. Even if it go to 5%, the stocks are moving up because they're saying, hey, this is the peak, right? So remember, there's a lot of psychology here in the marketplace. They already discounted, right? That, hey, it's gonna hit 5%. It doesn't matter anymore. All right. So that's that. US dollar. Let's look at US dollar. I think it's starting to come down too. Yeah, there you go. Like, Friday was a big reversal right here. So first we have the oil crack, right? They use the term crack because we go back to oil. I think it's like it cracked below 10-day, 21-day. Look at it now. It's already below 50-day. Look at how fast this is happening, right? And it looks like he wants to go to 200-day. This is like insanely fast. How fast the oil price is dropping. And then, like I said, again, currency doesn't usually move that fast, but you never know. It could, I'm not saying I'm going to drop like really fast, but who knows, right? Like, it could happen. Like, I mean, it really depends. So, but that would be good news for stocks if that happened. And like I said, the only thing left standing, it will be the 10-year yield. Like, is this the peak? Maybe it is. Maybe 4.88 was the peak. When everyone's, again, this is very psychological. If everyone start thinking, hey, it's gonna go to 5%, I'm not gonna buy any stock until that happens. Well, the growth stocks are already moving. So by the time you start looking at the growth stocks when it hit 5%, it might already be a little bit high price. You know what I'm saying? So again, market is discounting that, right? Possibly. I don't know for sure, but we'll know in some time. So yeah, like there's so we talk about the S&P support level. The other level for Nasdaq was the 13,000 right here. Again, we kind of talk about this, but I just didn't highlight the 13,000 level. It's right around here. So we found support there, so that's important. Okay, and then Wednesday we have a weaker ADP report. So you see, we have JOLTS report, we have ADP report, but the market didn't really react until positively until after Friday's job numbers. So, because that's the number that Fed that's the most important number for the Fed. Let's see what else is here. Yeah. So Friday, Yeah, 1.6% gain on the Nasdaq. It's closing in on the 50-day moving average. I think 50-day moving average is where most institutions will come in. So, again, I'm not saying, like we're still a few percent away, like a couple percent away. But, if we go above this, then yeah, I think a lot of bears will turn to bulls, is what I'm trying to say. Okay. So let's see if that will happen by, I don't know how soon this will happen, if it happens. But when that happens right here, we will see probably a big gap up there, is what I'm guessing. It'll probably come closer to 50-day, and then it probably have to be some news again. And then some sort of news that propel it, like just gap out, kind of like a strong day like this day. Or it may get tested here for a few days, like just holding on and not, as long as it doesn't slide back down too much, then it has a potential to move up from that 50-day. So those are things that I'm watching for. And again, most important is, one of the things that Mark Mooney really does really well, and then trying to understand that as time goes on, it's like he doesn't follow the index as much. Like the way he thinks is backward. He look at leading stocks, and if those leading stocks do well, he will trade no matter what, right? Even if the index doesn't do well, because one of the things he talked about is leading stocks will lead before the market leads, and that's how he sees it, not the other way around. And Charles Harris, same thing. He does the same thing. So, but most investors they follow the market and then dive down to the stocks. But for those traders, they're very concentrated. They're looking at the stocks. As long as the stocks behave very strong, even if the index is not behaving as strong, the market in general, as long as they outperform. Again, it comes back to the outperforming part, right? Yeah, let's see what else here. Okay, let's look at the Growth 50, because that surged 2.1% on Friday. So another strong sign of growth area, right? So even though you can see here my trend line, it still hasn't broken down up from the downtrend. This is, this growth, this IBD 50 has been beaten down pretty bad. I mean, like it came almost all the way to the low. So yeah, like this is how crazy it is. This is early in the year, January. Like if you buying those IBD 50 stocks, in most cases you haven't made a dime since the beginning of the year. And again, partly because the market breadth is so narrow that they did gain here, but a lot of them gave back, right? So that's why if you were just holding, you have made nothing so far this year. Yeah, and the IB 50 are more younger stocks. The Magnificent 7 is not on this list usually, so that's why, that's also another reason why this index hasn't performed. So when these guys start to move, that's when the young guns they start to move, right? And that will be a good sign for the market breadth. So that's important to see if that will move. Let's see. So yeah, we had the follow-through day. Yeah. So next week we have, like I said, we have Fed meeting minutes come out on Wednesday. I think that will be pretty important. I'm not sure if there's anything new they would say that no one expected. PPI, Producer Price Index, out Wednesday, so that's another inflation number. But the big one is CPI, Thursday. So that will be the big one. And then we have banks, right? Like starting on Friday, earnings. So those will be important as well. Yeah. So this week, technology, communication service were the strongest area. Consumer staples like they got killed this week, right? Like I think a lot of consumer staples, even Walmart, I think. Yeah, let's see. Look at this crash here. Oh my god. I mean, lots of them. I don't know. I didn't even want to look like that. Look at Pepsi. Look at this. Oh my god. Right? Even McDonald's, I think. Yeah, look at this. This is like crazy slope, right?
Wow.
All these staple stock just kill. this week. Like, incredible. I mean, I don't know. It's just, especially for people who are, holding those stocks for long term, this is a big setback. Like, I mean, look at this low. This is like undercutting the whole year. Like, even, like, I mean, you're going back to last August, basically. Okay, so we're gonna see a whole bunch of security software stocks. In my opinion, that group is super strong. I'm not sure if you have any in mind. Do you?
Yeah, basically CrowdStrike.
Yeah, that's a very good one.
Data out.
Yeah, I'm not sure about this one, Oil and Gas Explorers. I don't. So one of the reasons I don't own many of the producers is because, because they all have negative earnings, right? But I think one analyst will see that one analyst was saying that they will probably do well just because, they have trimmed so much expenditure and all that stuff. So, anyhow, but they have negative earnings, so usually I don't put that on my list. Database, and enterprise software. I haven't followed solar stocks as much because they're all, near the bottom. So, I mean, but they could bounce. Like, I haven't looked at, let's look at 10 for a second, the ETF. Yeah, see, like really sharp downtrend. They did bounce on Friday, like pretty hard. Like if we look at JK Solar, okay, that one not so strong. I thought First Solar. Yeah, see, they all like it's actually not a strong bounce. I don't think. Array. Yeah, like if it's a strong bounce, I wanted to take out like this few days high, right? It didn't. So and then what else? Enphase. Oh man, that stock just keep dropping, right? Like look at this. I can't even see the chart in the bottom. That's how small it is now. Yeah. So those are, I don't know. It's just they're just like the industry doesn't expect them to grow, and the trend continues. Yeah, discount chain group also got hit, like right here. We just talked about this. All right. So in terms of analyst notes, Tom Lee again, the Super Bowl. He has a 4,800 target. Still, he thinks the market could rise like I think 14% from here, even at Friday's close. That's significant. Malcolm Eldridge, yeah, he talked about Tech Energy has a lot cash, so they will do well in Q3 earnings. Other areas will be weaker due to consumer spending. Kevin Gordon focused on revenue growth, right? He's saying like, yeah, a lot of companies they have cut expenses so their margin will improve, but he said, the ones that are going to do the best are going to be the one who has strong top line growth. Eric Johnston, yields are moving because of the $2 trillion deficit, and again, high yields for longer. So he does think there's a bounce here, but he thinks that the long term is still not good, like really bad. Cameron Dawson, utilities sold off. Yeah, it sold off really hard early this week, right? And people are just moving money off even those area. It's like, why take the risk? And she also talked about like, the big cap tech could be where the money is flowing to, just because even though they're not high yields, but they at least they're defensive, right? In that sense. At Yardeni, he thinks, again, he's been saying this for a few months now. He says that the market is normalizing. He's the one who constantly talk about the rolling recession. He thinks that the recession already happened. And he thinks that the yield back to 4.5 to 5% is very normal, because that before the financial crisis, that was normal. And he thinks that commercial real estate, he's seeing that right now from some of his clients that having problems refinancing because of the high interest rate. So that area might be the next shoe to drop. So we have utilities, and now he's thinking REITs might have a problem. He's saying not all of them, because like especially the one with more cash, they will be able to buy real estate at cheaper price. But the ones that are heavily debt, they might be in more trouble. Yeah, and he constantly repeat that productivity will be the biggest surprise in the next year. He thinks that is the one area that could boost a lot of better than expected growth, and also that will cause a better real wage growth, which is a good thing, right? Without inflation, he thinks that wage will grow without inflation. Jim Ropel, he was he actually started off his seminar with one of the biggest bear comment from someone he knows. He didn't mention the name, but he believes he's the best trader beside Bill O'Neill, and he never mentioned his name. He kept it a secret, but he said that he got a note from him that the trader believed that we have entered a secular bear market, which is very interesting because that means that we won't hit new high. That's really what it means, right? I think that's what it meant. I don't know, but yeah. So what am I mentioning? Well, okay, so this is what I imply. I don't know. Basically, right? This is the previous high, and we won't make that high again, right? We have entered the secular bear market, right? So in the long term, it won't come out of this. Like, it will just be gyrating, and then we will go enter into a new secular bear market that could last 10 years or more, right? Something like that. So that's an interesting interesting call from one of the top traders, he said. So yeah, so something to consider, but he mentioned short term, like during even the back every secular bear market, there's always tradable rallies, and you can still make good money from that. Yeah. And one of the things he mentioned, like this is interesting. Like again, IWC, which is a measure of like the micro cap index. So these are like super young, right, stocks, right? And it make a new low this week. And this is really bad sign, right? Like what he was talking about is that the young business, usually in a bull market, the young business they not only survive, they thrive, but right now it's the opposite. We are still in a downtrend, and basically saying that the young business can't survive. This is what the chart is saying, and so this is why some people are bearish, right? Because in the long term, because it means that if the young business can grow and they can become bigger, then again we're going to continue to have this. And we're not even talking about small caps here. This is a micro cap, okay? So yeah, those are signs of like a very bad environment for entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? Yeah, for like small business and stuff like that, right? I'm talking about even very small business. So this is something to be aware of. We could be in one of the long, like who knows? This could be a super long bear market that we have entered that no one even know. So, and we talk about this many times, right? Like if you count from 08 to now, like I mean it's 14, 15 years now, 15 years, yeah, of bull cycle, secular bull cycle, and usually it lasts between 14 and 18 years. So either we have already reached it, or we have one more run, okay, in terms of a secular bull market. So something to be aware of. Again, those are very long-term thinking. Katie Stockton, she's the one who mentioned the 3 resistant area for S&P, and she's saying, yeah, we will see support at 200-day or previous resistance or Fibonacci retracement. So she was dead on. So far the market is doing exactly that. All right, those are the notes. Now we're gonna come look at the stocks quickly here. So one of the things that I've done is I really, like I said, 2 things I'm doing. One, focus on stocks with high relative strength. So what you're gonna see here is that they're all sorted by relative strength here. Second thing, I'm focusing on stocks that are performing even better than most, like not just the relative strength, but also like outperforming. Even I don't even know how to say it. We'll see in the chart in a second. It's easier to describe it. Is that basically stocks are outperforming themselves in a way. Okay, so that's one thing, relative strength. Yeah, and then second thing, like I want to be more focused in, like, for me, I've made a decision to do top 30 stocks. So this top 30 will rotate each week based on their performance. And basically I will be, maintaining this position sizing and stuff kind of like whenever I can. So let's look at from the top. Nvidia, right? RS rating 99, EPS estimate 400. Like EPS, I don't look at it as much. Like I don't rank by that. As long as they're making money, that's enough for me, right? So let's go look at Nvidia. So, and the weekly chart is important, but because the rally has just started, I'm looking for more recent trend, right? So, but you can see the relative strength is obviously strong on the weekly chart. But what do I mean by the short term? So here you go. We have this, and we're going to see this pattern constantly, right? This is what we want to see. So this thing goes down, comes back up. So we look at the relative strength line. So it peaked around here. So where is it right now? It's right here, right? And so look at this relative strength. It's going up, and it's almost at new high, but the stock price hasn't, it's still coming towards it. So in a way, this is like really strong. So not only is the line going up, but this is very close to the new high already, right? Versus the price, right? So those are the two things I'm looking for. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so like I said, not only is it outperforming its peers, but it's also almost like outperforming itself. Because and this one is not as obvious of a as obvious, but we'll see some other examples that are more obvious. So let's go look at the next one. VRT. So VRT, this is in the electrical power equipment. It's one of the strong leaders. You can see that it has finally pulled back. So here's a good example. Look at this. So right here was the peak, and so you see here's another interesting thing, right? It didn't peak at the same top here, right? So that also tells you that this stock is very strong at that moment, okay? But it did break down eventually, just like the rest of the market. Again, but now as it comes back on the right side, look at this. It already hit this same level, but without making a new high price. And that's what I'm talking about. So the faster it retraced the relative strength line, even before the price hit new high, it means that it has more strength than it previously has. So right here, it was already strong, but here is even stronger from a relative strength standpoint. So that's why this is what I'm talking about. Like, not just it's going up, but so it's already performing better than 99% of this peer. But the other thing I'm also looking at is like it's even outperforming itself previously. Right? And then when it makes new high, you can see usually when it makes new high, it should always make new high. So when it doesn't make new high on the price, so if price makes new high and the RS didn't make new high, that's when it's not outperforming itself, right? Previously. But the relative strength line could still be going up. So these are the two combinations what I consider. So this is like very strong. Okay. All right. STRL. So this is building heavy construction is another area that is moving. There's a whole bunch of them, but this one is one of the strongest ones. So again, we have this strong uptrend right here. It finally pulled back. Here's the peak right here. There's two peaks right here, but I usually look at the most recent peak. And again, the pricing is not quite near the top yet, but you can see the RS line is getting pretty close to it. So again, not as obvious as VRT. This is very similar to Nvidia, but nonetheless, it's like, you know, it's almost look like it's outperforming itself, right? Palantir. So Palantir is a tricky one. So it was very weak. You can see the RS line fell. It didn't make any movement here. In fact, it made a newer low right here, even though the price didn't. So that's actually weaker. And then recently, you know, so here you see the price make a stronger day here. So it did make a newer high here versus here. But the more important thing is right here. This last, you know, okay. So what? Like really Friday, right? Friday was the day. Right here, it broke out, new high, but the price hasn't made new high, right? So this is outperforming itself. So what happened on Friday? There was a news, right, that they could win a big UK contract. So that was the reason why it just, you know, really moved strong. Okay, and obviously you also want to see volume there, and again the selling volume is quite low recently. So this is also very good stuff right now as of Friday, because before Friday it wasn't really. Okay, so this is one of the rare gems, I think. Chinese education stock. Really strong uptrend. Even this like, how do you say, this pullback, of, you know, it was just so strong. Like it just didn't want to go down much for a long time. Like, I mean, you see these two lines here going down. That was it. Like, you know, it didn't stay down. Like it constantly wants to move up, and we're seeing the same thing happening. And you know, we have this peak right here. We have this peak right here. So here it didn't make too much difference, but here, right here, as it comes towards the old price, is much higher now. So it's outperforming itself, and again, it's making new high right here as it, you know, make new high. So very strong. Look at this selling volume right here. Like it really dry up right here. Yeah, IBD talked about this in this week's newspaper. Yeah, anyhow, and another really strong stock, EDU. Meta. So Meta is probably one of the one that have been standing the best in this correction, recent one in the September. Look at this. Like look at this peak right here, right? And it broke that like while it was near this bottom here. Like I couldn't believe it, right here. So this could be, you know, a really strong stock, you know. Yeah, look at the blue dot. You don't see many stocks with blue dot. The blue dot basically signifies exactly what I'm talking about. It's having a new relative strength before it breaks out. That is a very strong indicator of strength. Okay. So even though it hasn't really broke out from this new high yet, its relative strength is so strong compared to so many stocks. Portfolio. So this one has corrected, you know, similar to the market. Again, you can see it make new high right here, but the price hasn't make new high. So this is, you know, again, they all have strong relative strength recently, but again, it's outperforming itself since the last peak. So that is amazing. That's that one. Row is a new name. This is in the building area. So there's something happening with heavy construction. Like a lot of building construction stocks move this week. They don't all have high RS, but like Sterling is one of them. Obviously, we just saw that. But this one is a newer name, and again, you can see it just doesn't want to come down, right? It constantly make new highs, right? And then when the market looks even a little bit better, again, I don't know if there's news, but it broke out what we call ascending base here. Very strong, and like the relative strength is just, look at this, it just constantly make new high, like just constantly, and then it just took off. So yeah, like I mean, it moves so fast, right? I couldn't get much position in, so I bought some on Wednesday, but Like it's already almost 20% gain, like from the depending, where you buy it at. But I'm just saying, like, it's run up so fast in a few days that I don't want to chase it anymore, right? Like, it's just a little bit extended now. So it might come back to 10-day eventually. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, Lily. So Lily, is definitely the weight loss, drug stuff. I mean, it has been a strong leader this year. There's no doubt about it. Like, you look at the 50-day line, right? It's just sharp, almost 45-degree angle. But right now, recently, the most important is as it broke out from this trend line, it broke, pretty much right here. So again, better RS than previously. So very strong sign. And Friday was the move it made. So a lot. This is what I'm talking about. A lot of stocks, growth leaders, make the move on Friday at the same time. Again, very strong signs of a new trend starting. Usually when that happens, that's when the new trend starts. It's just all these leaders are moving at the same time, right? Which would carry the market together. All right. Okay, BRBR is similar to ELF, but this one is a younger stock, and this relative strength is just incredibly strong. Like, look at this. Okay, this is the flat line relative strength right here. Look at this where it is. So it actually weakened before the peak here, but as it goes sideways right here, the relative strength start moving up. So this stock has been outperforming itself like significantly previously. So, which is interesting because, like I said, here it wasn't that good, right? But here, like, it has outperformed now itself. So we haven't seen the big moves yet, but but yeah, the last few weeks it came out, came out here. So we'll see if this thing can move. But if we go compare this to ELF, ELF is still here's the thing, ELF is still going down, right? So this is also a lot of people like David Ryan on this one, and yeah, it's still correcting. Like, I think it has found support at 200-day, but the RS rating hasn't really caught up yet. So yeah, like I say, right now, there's a lot of these previous leaders. They will probably bounce eventually, but they might not be the strongest one this time. So something to consider. Okay, Duolingo.
Yeah.
So Duolingo. So we talked about this a few times now. So here we have this pullback here, recent pullback, and it did make a new high as it make a new high. So nothing unusual. Now this week, the one thing I don't like this week is that it didn't make new high, right? So it didn't make new high. So it's kind of like, again, I'm not gonna discount it. Like, it's too early to discount it, but we'll see what happens next week, right? Like, it should bounce to new high. Now it didn't do much this week. Like, it's just flat. Like compare, like, it's not outperforming itself. It is, relative strength rating. In a way, I would even say this is compared to other charts is weaker because it didn't make a new high, right? But sometimes stocks take a breath, right? They don't always. Not every stock move together. Even the best stocks, like SMCI. Remember SMCI? It didn't move like other stocks. Okay. So we have to understand that sometimes a leader, especially the strongest one, they tend to move a little bit differently than every other stock. I don't know why, but they do sometimes. So, but this guy has a nice pattern, a W-shaped pattern. It broke out, and then the 2 weeks after was very volatile. I kind of consider this week just a pause week, right? But some people might say, hey, this stock didn't move this way. I'm going to sell it, move to other stock, and then you never know. Next week it's just again, I don't want to say something, and then I don't know, it could just move up really significantly. So it's holding really tight. You know, there's not much selling volume, so you see all this blue volume here. So I would say like it's a whole pattern, right? It's yes, it's not ideal, but like I said, sometimes the strongest stock, and I do believe this is one of the strongest stock, because this stock broke out before every other stock did. This is why this relative strength move up here before everyone else did, right? So, but but by next week it still doesn't move, then and if other stocks move, then I would say this is starting to, don't look as good. Okay. So ESTC is another one that kind of came out earlier than others. So because of this like good earnings report, and then it holds so tight, and then you can see the RS rating right here. So right here. So here's the peak, and then here it broke out, like even before the price broke out. So this is very strong performance against itself, and obviously the RS rating is already really strong against the market. And then here, pretty normal action. It hasn't get to new high yet. This was a really big pullback right here, shake out probably lots of people, but so again, holding pattern, similar to Duolingo. So this is another thing that I realized, right? Because these stocks, that's one thing I've learned, that some stocks, they don't move in sync with every other stock because they already came out earlier than others. So it's like a digestion week right this week, right? So I wouldn't discount them right now, but I these two are my top two stocks in terms of like based on recent action. Again, we won't know, but we'll see whether they're going to be the best performers. But all these ones up here have the potential to be the best performers. So NTX, NX, this guy, like, phenomenal. Like, look at this. So here, peak, and then right here, near the bottom, make new high. Here, peak, and then now, it make new high. Well, it did kind of make new high here. So, very strong. NTNX. They were on Jim Cramer recently. I didn't follow the commenting stuff, but yeah, they were on there. I don't know too much about this company yet, but yeah, it looks really strong. Crowd. I think Crowd. So anytime I hear too many people talking about the same stock, other than Nvidia and the Magnificent Seven, I get scary. Like, this is one of them. This is like everybody talk about CrowdStrike right now. But it did perform really well. Look at this. Peak here, and then it make new high. Even before it make new high, the price make new high. And then on Friday, it just took off, right? But like I say, I don't like it when everyone talk about the same stock, and this is one of them. So, but I do like the stock right now. I do get a little bit leery about everyone talking about it. ANET, I think ANET has also another one that has high potential to be a leader. Beside Duolingo or ESTC, I think ANET would be another one. Because here, look at this relative strength. Like, look at it, make new high right here before the stock price did. And then here, okay, so it did make new high here, so it make new high. So right here. And then as it pulls back, look at this right here. Again, it make new high already, right? So
Yeah.
So ANET has again, I'm not just looking for stock that is outperforming the rest of the market. I'm looking for stock that is doing better than itself recently, and this is showing that, right? So, yeah. So I think ANET is really strong. Adobe just came out on Friday too. It was nothing. Again, this is normal. Nothing spectacular. So not yet anyway. So that one's a little bit slower. So it's normal. So this one, the next one, I think not many people follow this stock. I think this stock has a huge potential. a risk management in the investment area. It just keep making new highs on RS rating, like very subtly, but it is doing it. And look at how fast this came out here. Like, it just really strong stock. Wow, look at Thursday, Friday volume. Like, there's something happening with this one. This is a really long-term trend. Look at that. Yeah, and this is probably the first time it broke 50-day right here in this whole uptrend. So yeah, I think this stock has also a lot of potential, which is not in the tech area. Power Auto, yeah, look at this. You know, it's making new high on the relative strength. Again, a lot of them make move on Friday, so that's good, right? I mean, in general, it's good pattern already. Google, same thing. Look at Google. The Google is strong. Like, I can't remember who was saying this. They think Google will be the leader in AI in terms of the software side. Like, they think they'll beat Microsoft, but I can't remember who was saying that. Anyhow, yeah, look at this. Look at this right here, the top, and look at how soon it make new high on the RS. Like right here, like it wasn't even close to near the high. Like, this is amazing. I mean, this is already amazing right here, but like this recent action is even more amazing. Like Google, yeah. Okay, so another security stock, QLYS. Yeah, look at this. Like, the security stocks are really, really strong right now. I mean, this is really strong. This is even stronger than Krauts, right? Like, in terms of the relative strength. I mean, this is insane. Yeah, so that one's pretty good. Another one, ACGL. So this one's in the insurance group. Okay, so this one is trying to come out right now. Looks normal. So it did hit new high. It hasn't even broke out yet. Like, very close, very close. So that one looks pretty good too. Hypnosis. This stock, not many people talk about it, but the action is, look at this. Like, look at this right here. Withdrawal right here. And look at this. Like, this is really strong action recently. You know, again, relative strength wise. So when we look at the chart, and when you look at this, oh, it doesn't look like a big jump, right? But yeah, it is jump. Like you know, 450 to 473. Like, you know, it's quite a big jump. 23. I don't know. Like, that's probably close to 5% jump, 4%, 4.5% jump in like really short time. So the RS rating is jumped a lot. So very strong. Again, another security stock, Zscaler. This one looks okay. Like, this one obviously make a new high already before the price did. So again, it's outperforming itself. CDNS is another, like, similar to Hypnosis. So this one also made a move on Friday. It broke out on new high relative strength. Yeah. PCAR has been, like, you know, a stock that I've been trading out many times. It has this long, like, really superb run here, and then it just built this long base. But look at what this relative strength is doing. Like, it just starting to, like, move. It's starting to move, and so it's outperforming itself, and it hasn't even made new high yet. So again, yeah, it's moving. So I like it. I like it. It's finally moving. It took a while. Intuit, again, same thing. Intuit didn't, you know, really skyrocket until like this last. It's nice relative strength. This one also looks superb right now. Look at where the gap between the new high price versus the relative strength. It's almost new high. So really strong Intuit, moving really at fast pace. Co-op. So I don't hear anyone talk about co-op. But here's the chart. So here's the top right here. Look at where the relative strength is right now. Like this is super low compared to the high price, but where is the relative strength? Like pretty close to high recently. Friday's action put it down quite a bit just because it didn't go up like everyone else did. But like I said, sometimes the stock, when they run so fast, they have to take a break. And so if it survived this, it could move fast again. So we'll see. Okay, so now we're on to Ferrari race. This is another stock. Look at where this high is. Oops. So here's the peak, last peak right here, and look at where the current price is, and it's already at pretty much near new high. So very strong stock. Yeah, I like this one. And the one that make the list of my final list is HSBC. So look at this relative strength. Incredible strength. Like incredible. So it broke out even before Friday. So something is happening with this. Yeah. So we'll have to pay attention to this one. So there's lots more stocks on the list, but most of them are normal, like in terms of relative strength. Like they're not outperforming themselves or anything. Like we have ACRS, Words, MDB, Shopify, Salesforce, Microsoft. Like let's do a Microsoft just because it's Magnificent 7. So here, it did move up. I guess this one is getting pretty strong. Yeah, it broke out to new high. So it did outperform itself. It's at 90. So right now you can see I'm keeping my list because I'm trying to hold only 30 stocks, more concentrated. 90 didn't make the cut, right? But it doesn't mean it's not good, okay? It just it's really good actually. So yeah, Rapid, Mobileye, NetEase, Pure Storage, SAP, CDay, Uber. You see, Uber didn't make my cut either. Let's take a quick look. So this is what I'm talking. Like this is, so here's the previous peak right here, right? And it's still not quite close to the high. So this one is just normal, right? Normal behavior. So that's why it's not on my list. Yeah, HQY, ITT, ATR, VMC. So these are the building stuff. Very strong. EPAC, rope. Surprisingly, medical drugs are moving too. So like I think this rally could hold if all these areas, if all these stocks like continue, right? MCK, Vortex, SNY, CAH, ISRG, MES, UNH. But even UNH, I was looking at it. Like right here. So here's the peak right here, and here's right here. So it make new high before it did, and now look at how far it is on the relative strength. Super strong. Like this broke everything, all recent highs. The next one is this one. So really strong. This UNH. I think it's reporting this week. Yeah, this is reporting this week. So something to be aware of. EG, Cash, Visa. Yeah. I mean Visa, keep coming out on my screen too. So let's see. Right here is the peak. Not the super peak, but like second peak. And then look at the RS rating. It's already near new high. So again, it's moving fast. Even though it's just a few days of movement. But that's, again, it's all about the rate of movement, right? That's what I'm measuring. So that's important. We're trying to find, like, it's like a horse race, right? We're trying to find the horse that are coming out the fastest as this new rally continues. And some of them are going to pick up pace. And some of them are going to slow down. So have to be a little bit patient to determine which one. But the good thing is we are seeing lots of stocks moving. Again, very broad. So I'm liking this market right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just give you some example of ones that are not so good, right? Like just so we can contrast a little bit. Like wing. So not saying they're not good. It's just So here's a relative strength line that's pretty good at first. So for example, if we were to pick this peak here, and so here, so you can see there's not much difference, and then but it did rise quite as the stock price rise here, and then the one thing that happened was like, and that's another thing, right? Like you kind of have to keep track of this yourself if you're using this tool. Is like it was at come back here, it was at 89, it dropped to 83. So even though it doesn't look like a big drop here, but it is a big drop. So it's actually making a newer low, and you can see it from the price too. And so I'm not saying this won't bounce, but there's too many stocks that are strong right now. Like you have to get rid of the ones that are weaker, right? So that's one. LNTH, this one is already a weak stock to begin with, but but anyhow, it did move pretty significant right here. You can see, and then right here is the new high, and so you can see it make a new high as it move up. It was very strong, and then here it make another new high right here on this big up day. But this last few days, like it really hurt the stock, like relative strength. Like again, not saying this won't bounce, but this is a pretty strong slope right now. So maybe that's why it pulled back so strong. But I'm just I just think that so this was 68 right now, and it was 75 before. So that's also a big significant drop, right? So like again, I'm not saying they won't bounce back. It's just I don't want to focus on stocks that have that much volatility, and yeah. So those are things that I do in terms of the opposite, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's look at Tesla. So here we are. It's looking pretty good. It's near the new high, right? And the stock price hasn't made a high yet. So that relative strength is outperforming itself. So it looks good. It's good. It is a cup with handle pattern. Obviously they decreased their price again, right, on Model Y. I just think like, again, this is not my favorite stock at all. I feel like the margins keep shrinking and shrinking, and they have to sell more and more to make up for it, and it's hard. I find that's very hard. Yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree.
But the stock chart looks okay right now. Like, I mean, it is relative strength wise, it's not bad, but just the fundamental side, it's not my favorite right now.
Yeah.
And like for example, you can look at this peak right here. Again, I don't usually like looking back few months because trends change pretty fast, right? But just to get a better idea here, so here you go. It didn't outperform here at all, right? So it's just normal. Same thing right now. Like right now, it's slightly outperformed itself because it's not even close to the high, and the R is already high. So like I say, right now it looks better than before. But yeah, but the fundamental is where I just can't stuck with it. Yeah, let's look at Apple. Let's see if it come back up. Yeah, it's starting to move back up. So it's acting good. Again, Apple is another one I'm worried about. Like this is look a lot worse than Tesla for sure. Look at all this selling here. Even this 2 days right here. Look at that. So
Yeah.
So there's lots of selling in the last month. It's gonna have a harder time to climb, I think. But let's see. And Amazon, yeah. See, look at this flatlining, right? Ours, right? So, it's not even moving up. So that's also not very good. Even though Prime Day is coming this week, right? So unless it could make a move, sometimes. So when a rally starts, most growth stocks will move, follow the market, right? Some of them will move faster, like the 10-20% of them will move faster, and then there's gonna be some that are kind of flat, meaning like they follow exactly like the S&P, but they could come later. They could move later because maybe there's some news, right? Like just like Palantir, like that was I was kind of because Palantir is one of my favorite stock, like just because I like the CEO and stuff. But even look at even during this volume days here, but the relative strength like wasn't a lot stronger than I want it to be, but it did move like on Friday. So Friday broke out even before the price did, and so it did move finally. So sometimes it's gonna take a little bit more days for some stocks. You need some good news, right? And so and that's another thing, because most stock prices have already corrected and we were to come back up this side of the base. Any good news will even move them even faster, right? So that's because they already discount a lot of bad news, like even with the earnings stuff. So and most of them are reporting near the end of the month, like 20 to 30 days. So either end of October or early November, right? So those 2 weeks are going to be critical, and by that time, I'm just thinking out loud right now. If the stock market does continue to rally from here, it might move up, and usually what happens is they'll come close to this previous high near the earnings. And why stocks love to do that? Why? Because people who are owning it or who hasn't owned it, they have to think twice now. Well, it's going to move big one way or the other, right? And that's where it's harder to make a decision. So if you don't own it yet, like, wow, the stock already moved up to this, and then they wait. If you follow IBD, you wait for it to break out. So you rather buy it higher, because that's how it is. And so you will be buying here, right? At a higher price, or you do like what I do, which is a low cheat. Some people call it shakeout plus 3%. After it breaks out above 3%, usually you buy many different methods, or you can buy above 50-day, that's another way. That's a simple way. But yeah, so different ways of handling it. But it'll be very important to see at the beginning of the rally. I like to get in on the fastest horse because they have the highest chance of going even further. And so I feel like the first week or 2 weeks of the rally is the most important. And then by the third or fourth week, again, some stocks can come later, right? Like some stocks, they only jump on earnings, For example, like Celsius, that's one stock I remember that jump on earnings, like this guy right here, see? So they don't move unless they have good earnings, right? Like right here, another one right here. See? Some stocks, they don't move much. They only move on earnings, and this is one of them. So even though this stock is on a huge downtrend, like it's still very far below, right? But it hasn't even break the downtrend yet. So, but there's gonna be stocks like this that only move on earnings, and yeah, and those are harder to. I find those are way harder to hold, and then because all you depend on is the earnings. But like I said, this stock is a superstar, right? Because look at the earnings number. So if they beat again, they will probably jump up straight, 20% again, So.